who are with us for this absolutely enchanting discussion that we're going to be having in just a few minutes. Ladies, I'll ask you if you're already with us. I'll ask you to unmute yourselves.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think we are waiting for a few more to join us. I think they'll be here in a few moments, but I'm going to take this moment to dive right into the session. I'm so very excited because this is a bunch of ladies who've been curated to perfection through something that connects them, which is the profundity of the power of words itself. I like to think of words as the rain that creates flowers. So these are women that, represent various aspects of the written word, be it, prolific writers that they may be, publishers, or sharing poignant stories that they have lived through. So this is going to be an enlightening, super interesting session. Please allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to have you meet these ladies. I'd like to introduce to you our moderator for the session, Rupa Pai. Welcoming Rupa. She's one of India's best known writers for children's books. It's an honor to have you moderate this session and have you be with us. Welcoming also Lakshmi.
Hi.
Welcoming Lakshmi. Hi, Lakshmi. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Express Publications based in Madurai. They're a veteran in sales and marketing with an enriched career of over 30 years. She may not look it, but it's true. Welcoming Meeta Kapoor. Meeta, it's a pleasure to have you with us. I think Meeta is muted. Meeta?
Hi.
Perfect. I always find that this kind of helps. Meeta, welcoming you, the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Siyahi India, India's leading literary consultancy. Welcoming in the same breath, Anuja. Anuja, are you with us? There you are. The lovely Anuja is a writer and author, and in fact, the author of probably the best-selling 5 novels that India knows, the Zoya Factor, Battle of Bithora, some of these that we're well familiar with. We have them in our libraries. So it's an honor to have you, Anuja, amongst us, as well as also, I hope that you're going to talk about some of your very prolific work in advertising that you have done as well. Some of the campaigns that we're well familiar with over the years. Welcoming my beautiful soul sister once again, instead of in person, but through Wi-Fi and very much connected through the heart space. Welcoming my lovely soul sister, Deepa Rao, a social entrepreneur, writer, philanthropist, lifestyle influencer, and a curator of exclusive events. Beautiful to see you here, Deepa, welcoming you. And our last, but in no measure the last speaker for this session, Preeti, I'll ask you to unmute yourself, please. Perfect. Welcoming you, Preeti. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for taking our precious time. Preeti is the founder of Soul Free, represents a lifetime of fortitude and courage, and she's made the very leitmotif of her life. Can't wait to hear each one of your stories. Please, I'd like to welcome each one of you, and this is my opportunity to hand the baton to Rupa to moderate this absolutely fascinating conversation. Over to you, Rupa.
Thank you, Mansi. Yes, hi everyone. Lovely to see you all here. And everybody on time and waiting in the meeting room 10 minutes before. Excellent. Yeah, very, very good children. Yeah, so thank you for showing up, and it's an absolute pleasure to be the moderator for this session. Some of you are, people I've admired for a while, so this is very nice to be here. And since Mansi did a sort of basic introduction already, I'm just going to go straight into the first question. And when connected with each of you over the last week and asked you what the power of words means to you, because it was a very broad and open-ended kind of topic for the conversation, the power of words. So I wanted to see how each of you defined it or thought about it in your lines of work. And it was very interesting. I already knew we had a diverse panel, but the way each of you approaches words and what you do with words is quite different. So in my mind, I sort of put you into little boxes, which are by no means restrictive boxes, but what I think of as primarily what you do with words and not mutually exclusive at all. So since we are placed like this in this screen, I think I'll start with Lakshmi to my right. To my right, left, right, to my right, at least when I'm facing the screen. So Lakshmi is the CEO of Indian Express Publications, and she's based at Madurai, and she's had a long career with Indian Express for 25 years. And we all know the Indian Express as one of those fearless, anti-establishment kind of newspapers, crusading against injustice, crusading against bad governments and policies and things like that. And she has actually been with it for 25 years, not in an editorial capacity, but in every other capacity I can think of, basically sales and marketing, distribution, everything. And now she's a CEO. And I think of your words, like how you use words, or what you curate the words and take care of the word makers. That's really your job. And what you do, I think, are words that inform, words that catalyze, and words that polarize, unfortunately, more and more so in the current political climate, and not just in India, but in the world. So how would you tell us a little more about your work, Lakshmi, and how you see the power of words?
Yes, thank you, Rupa, for that very warm introduction. And thank you, Mansi, as well. And hi to all the other panelists. Just a small little correction. I'm based in Chennai. We have Madurai, our registered company name, because
I see.
It's a lucky place for our founder. So I am based in Chennai. And as all of us, I think on this panel sort of agree that the words have tremendous power. And I think it's important to use words judiciously because it has the power to heal. And it also has the power, unfortunately, to divide and destroy. So I am in a profession where we bring out the newspaper every single day. So what we try to do is from, our legacy of fighting against, today, we decide to fight for. And while our team, we have a huge number of reporters, editors, people on the desk. So what we generally sensitize them to do is to basically use words positively. Let's look at using them in a more positive manner rather than, using them to create despair. So instead of creating a sense of despair and hopelessness, let's look at creating hope. So that's what we try and do. Of course, since it's a newspaper, we do have to report news, and a lot of it sometimes may not be really, something that one can look at as hope. But even within that, there are stories of hope. So let's try and write about those stories of hope amongst what looks like despair. So that's what we try to do in our.
You said you had even started like a section of the newspapers it's just devoted to stories of hope and positive stories. Right?
Yes, yes, we have a good news section, and we also hope that our aim is not to limit it just to one section. Ensure that the positivity words can be used in a manner where this spreads across all other sections from page 1 to till the last page. So that's what is our endeavor. Of course, it's tough. It has, there are challenges, but then we have to be aware of the usage of words. So that's what we tell the team. Let's be aware of what we're saying. the words that we're using, so that we can avoid using those words which may seem a little harsh, which may create despair in the reader.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Lakshmi. That is, I mean, it seems like a huge responsibility, but it's a step in the right direction for sure. Because all of us, I think, are tired of seeing the front pages of newspapers where it's just like, sending us into like rock bottom despair rather than, that's why you subscribe to your newsfeed for things like the Better India or something, so that there is some, you can feel happy. Right. So going on to Anuja, of course, like amazing writer and so many best-selling books, just knows how to get to the heart of any topic, has been in advertising, created the tagline, Ye Dil Mange More, iconic tagline, made even more iconic by Captain Vikram Batra of the Kargil War. I mean, imagine that he was martyred, but just then that was what, and it really captured the spirit of India in the 90s, which was just breaking free of the shackles of protectionist economy and liberalization, and everybody was looking hopeful into the future. So that was beautiful. And I don't know how many of you know this, but almost every single one of Anuja's books, their film rights have been bought. Zoya Factor has already been made, but other books are also being made into films. So across your work as a copywriter, and you continue to work in advertising, I believe, and writing, and there's a new book coming out, guys, you have to watch out for it. It's called Club You to Death. I have been waiting for an Indian author to write a good murder mystery, and I'm really looking forward to her book. Yeah, so how, Anuja, do you see the power of your words? What is their power? What do you intend it to be that way, or has it happened that way?
No, but see, there's a lot of power in words, and because see, words contain ideas. Words contain entire worlds inside them. The way you string them together, so that's what you're talking about. So they can knit you together, or they can tear you apart. Like what Lakshmi is doing is a job, such huge responsibility. Headlines can create hate and polarize communities, or they can give you a sense of being one India, one people together. So it's the strongest tool ever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that way. And I've always traditionally gone to words as a reader when I was younger, and well, even now, to look for everything, for role models, for solace, for inspiration, for understanding of other people's points of view. Because through the power of words, maybe I'll never murder somebody, but I could read a book in which I go into the mind of a person who's in that space and saying, why is this person bent on murdering someone? What is what is the thinking behind that? Or the mind of of a juvenile accused of rape, and why he would do something like that. All those stories will come to me through words, right? So I go to words for everything, really. And I think that they always use it's the best box of crayons ever, that you can have, and you can play with them, and you can do whatever you like, and you can create whatever you like with words. And so for me, I personally use it. Sometimes it's escapism, sometimes it's looking at the brighter side of things, or it's just like I said, the holy books will give you solace, other books will give you role models, adventure, so all that. So for me, it's like, this is what I do. This is my thing.
Yeah. Do you have a particular, do you want to create a certain mood when you write your books? I mean, because a lot of it is very topical or captures the mood of the generation.
Yeah, but again, I like happy books as a reader and as a writer.
And action, lots of action as well.
Lots of action, lots of humor, lots of things that make you laugh and that make you think. See, I always feel that we shouldn't write moral science, and the point is always made better if it is made with weight, or it is just thrown away, or it's said like that. I mean, instead of preaching and moralizing and weighing everything down. So I feel halke haath se, like, so even in what I read and in what I write, I try to say pretty heavy things, but I don't like to say them heavily.
Yes. I mean, I think that's a huge talent and much required, and that's what makes the book appealing, actually.
It's an ambition. It's an ambition.
No, clearly you're doing it right. Otherwise, it wouldn't have appealed to so many people. And Yeah, so that's nice. Lovely to meet Anuja. And now I will go this way clockwise. So I will go to Preeti. Preeti has an amazing story. I mean, I didn't know about Preeti until I spoke to her after she came on the panel, and I already feel somewhat very connected to her for some reason. I don't know why, but what an amazing story. She was in the Tamil Nadu 11, final 11, like the playing 11 of the Tamil Nadu cricket team, women's cricket team, the official cricket team, when she was 8. She was she was actually part of the playing 11 at the age of 8, and she continued to be there. And she was also a national level swimmer, 50-meter breaststroke champion of Tamil Nadu, and representing Tamil Nadu at the nationals. And she had been abroad for about 6 years in the US. In the middle, came back, immediately joined the team again, was part of the under 19 Tamil Nadu cricket team, and was, I think that team was doing really well, right, Preeti, at that time when you were part of it? Yeah, they had won the nationals and things. And she was only 18 when, on a trip with her friends on her way back at the Pondicherry beach, she had this completely freak accident when the waves went out. She was just standing in like 2 feet deep water. The waves went out, so the ground sort of was pulled from beneath her feet. And because she did not want to fall on her back, and she was a champion swimmer, she dove in to the water. And she doesn't know what happened because she didn't hit her head or didn't have any visible injury at all, no blood, nothing. But at that moment, when she dove in, a shock ran through her system and she could not move her legs or arms or anything. So since that day, when she was 18, she has been a paraplegic, paralyzed below the neck. But she is doing such amazing. Look at her smile. I mean, she's just like, we've been having these long chats, and she's such an inspirational person and doing so much. And she has founded this very necessary organization called Soul Free, which basically does advocacy and awareness about disability rights, particularly for people with spinal cord injuries. Because apparently, I mean, from reading about it on her website, the government of India does not recognize spinal cord injuries as a disability. So they don't get, they do not get so many benefits that other disabled categories of people do. And so that's her main aim. And of course, for the disabled themselves, for people who have with spinal cord injuries, she tries to provide support in terms of education for the caregivers. I mean, how to take care, and counseling for the caregivers, counseling for the patient, employment, empowerment, all these. And her organization personally provides like a lot of things that they need, package gift boxes that go out to some, I mean, she will tell us how many people, but it goes out to so many people, things like new t-shirts, new towels, catheters, everything they need. And she was telling me about how during this lockdown, it has been so difficult because so many of those products, especially the rubber ones, have come from China, and then generally supply lines have been affected throughout. But yeah, she's still going strong. And for her, the words I thought of were words that healed me. I mean, I'd like you to talk about that, Preeti. Apart from the words you use to inspire now as a motivational speaker, what are the words that healed you? Tell us a little bit about how you use words and how they feature in your life.
Sure. Thank you so much for this introduction. First of all, I want to say I'm so grateful to be on this panel. Initially, when they told me, I said, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know anything about anything, basically. So I'm really grateful to be on this panel. Thank you all for having me here. And so the power of words, my life has been, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can.
Yes.
So, yeah, sorry about that. See, there's been a lot of ups and downs in my life, right? I've seen the heights of, I mean, I thought I was doing pretty well the first 18 years of my life. Everything I touched was successful, so-called, the 12 years of school, I went to 9 different schools in 3 different continents. I had traveled to most parts of the world. And, like she said, I was in the playing 11 of the Tamil Nadu senior women's squad when I was just 8. It's a record that still stands. And everything was going great. I'm an only child. I was basically loved very deeply by both sides of my family. So I had a pretty charmed life. And then it turned the completely upside down, because in a split second, I lost what I thought was my identity altogether, because everything I identified with, I thought this was me, was something that I had achieved through my body and mind, right? And in a split second, my body was not mine anymore. At 18, that's a pretty difficult thing to deal with. At that time, I was lashing out at the world. I was very angry. I couldn't. I went through this whole phase of, why me? How can this happen to me? Right? Nobody thinks it can happen to them, but a spinal cord injury can happen to anyone at any time. The official uh, statistics in the US are that one happens every 38 minutes. More than 18,000 injuries happen every year, and there are more than 250,000 quadriplegics living in the US. But in India, the funny part is we don't even have the luxury of becoming a statistic, because guess what? There's no data available on how many people it happens to, or what happens to them when they leave the hospital. And unfortunately, most of us pass away within the first year, because there's no support system of any kind, especially the higher level injury where both the hands and legs are affected. We are called quadriplegics because all four limbs are affected. So at that time, the power of words was definitely, nothing was seeping into my system. And I was very angry, and I made life hell for my parents. But it was their love that slowly, got me into a space. Both my sides of the family have a very rich spiritual lineage, and we moved to Tiruvannamalai because our guru is Yogi Ram Suratkumar, and he told us to move here. And basically, my father would read out the words of Ramana Maharishi or Nisargadatta Maharaj to me, and I would fight with him and say, I don't want to hear this. Will these words take my pain away? Will these words make me walk again? Can they give anything back to me? That was at 20. That's all the brains I had. But then slowly, my father would very patiently tell me, so what? This body, everybody's body's got to go. So yours happened in fast forward. So what? Why don't you try to go within and find that within you that can't be taken away? So somewhere those were the words I'm living by. I think through two near-death experiences, I've had something that has taken me beyond words and beyond the physical form. So there is a lot. The word soul free, right? The soul is free, and if we can live in the moment, then everything can be perfect. Is what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, when you speak about the Atma and the soul being free, as long as we are within the body, the soul is limiting itself to the limitations of the body. So if day in and day out you're told that, guess what, you are shame, you're a burden, you don't deserve to live, then the people are dying within themselves day in and day out. And I want to set their souls free. I want to give them a chance to be able to dream real dreams and go after them and have the equal opportunities to achieve those dreams. So that's why soul free. So
Lovely. Wow. So inspirational. I mean, seriously, you are an amazing person. I mean, when I spoke to you for the first time itself, I was blown away. And once again today. So thank you, Preeti, for being here. It's our honor to have you here. It's not, I mean, we haven't done you any favor by putting you here at all. We are touched by your story. And I want to add that Preeti has written an autobiography, which is, no, not yet.
It's not an autobiography. It's actually one little I don't have the wherewithal to actually write the entire thing down. I would like some support with that, in the sense that if somebody sits with me and asks me questions, I'm happy to answer all of them. But with all the things going on, I'm doing my PhD at IIT Madras now. So too many things happening for me to write.
She's also, when she lived in the US, she was among the top 2% of students as far as her academic achievements. 98 percentile.
Yeah, then I was denied entry into college just because there are no lifts and no ramps. So they said don't join. So we had to fight our way through, and now I've joined IIT. Yeah, but the thing is, autobiography I haven't managed yet. But what I did was I went through my whole a kind of bodily journey because, as I said, I lost my sense of identity. So I wouldn't look at the mirror and I wouldn't take photos or anything like that for nearly a decade. So at some point, something came back into my system, and I started also going out into the world, and I had to be the spokesperson for Soul Free. So then I wanted to look in a certain way, which as a sports person, I had never had to count calories. But then, when a size 38 size pant, 38 inches trousers started becoming tight, I said, no, this is not happening. So now the book I did write was also about constipation and a lot of troubles that paralyzed people and
I see.
people who are mostly sitting down for the most part of the day have.
I see.
And weight. So the book I wrote, How to Reduce 10 inches of Your Waist Without Literally Moving a Little Finger. Okay.
Has it been published? Has it been
No,
published?
I don't
Not
know
yet.
anybody. I don't know any publishers and all that. If any of you want to help me,
We come to Meeta. Meeta, meet Preeti. Preeti, meet Meeta. Okay. Now, thanks, Preeti. We'll move to Deepa. It's quite nice segue actually from Preeti to Deepa, because what Deepa does is also, I mean, she's been a writer, she's been a journalist, she's been with the Times of India. She's written ad copy, she's written film and television scripts in Bombay for various networks, and for Shekhar Kapoor, I read. So she has done all that kind of work as well. She's written short stories, she's a published writer. But in the recent past, or maybe I don't know since when, but she has moved from just entertaining words or words for scripts to the spirit, words that heal and transform the spirit. And what she does, she has a book out called Lit Spirit, which is which she calls spiritual fiction, which talks about a young person who goes off into the Himalayas, full of dissing everything that is to do with spirituality and all that. And then, of course, the transformation that happens when he meets a guru there and he learns to be patient. But what I want to talk about is that she has used the same name, Lit Spirit, for her foundation, an NGO that she has founded. And she goes to the underserved, underprivileged communities, to the children there, and says, okay, there are enough people probably taking care of their physical health. At least they get their midday meals, they get a meal every day. Their physical health is taken care of. Even intellectually, they are going to schools and perhaps learning the 3 Rs. But what they are not served, the area that is not served is their spiritual and emotional development. And so she tries to transform their spirit, gives them confidence and to self-esteem and stuff like that through techniques like meditation, breathing, chanting, I don't know what else. So Lit Spirit is that. And to fund Lit Spirit, she also curates events. She's a very well-known event organizer in quite high-profile event organizer in of curator of high-profile events in Bangalore. Yeah, so a lot of people know Deepa. So Deepa, would you tell us a little bit about how you use words and how you came to this path? Can't hear.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, just give me a moment. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And hello, everyone. Rupa, to answer your question, I think I'll have to go back a little bit to my childhood, which kind of ties all of this in together. I come from 2 large joint families, but despite that, I had a very difficult childhood. And I would always seek solace in 2 things. I've always had 2 main passions since I was like a little child, a little girl. And these 2 things were words or books. And the second thing was a deep search for God, which is spirituality. And literally books came to me as tools, empowering tools, and I was always given the right book, the right words that I needed to nurture my spirit, to give me courage to, handle the circumstances of my life. So that has sort of formed the foundation or bedrock of my life, words or books and spirituality. And this is why I've realized the power of words since I was a young child. And in fact, Marie Kondo has a very famous line, right, in her book, The Magic of Tidying, in which she says, keep what sparks joy. What I believe in is speak or write what sparks joy. So I've always loved uplifting words, be it autobiography of a yogi or something simple like The Alchemist. Anything which uplifts the spirit is something worth reading, is what I have believed. And even when I was a journalist with the Times, I used to be a feature writer, but my editor knew my love for my passion for spirituality, and she created a spiritual weekly column for me. And that was what I really enjoyed writing. And even if I would interview, like, the biggest of celebrities, from whoever, and Amitabh Bachchan to whoever, the maximum response I would get was not for all of that. It was for my spiritual columns. And that was when I realized that when you write empowering words, it can alter the consciousness of the person reading them, hopefully, if they want that transformation and growth. So that has been the foundation of my life. And recently, like you said, I got to marry both my passions when I wrote Lit Spirit, the book. And the reason why both my foundation and the book are called that is because I believe that we all have a divine spark within us. And whether you're using words to nourish and nurture that, or whether you're using self-transformational tools, when that divine spirit in you is awakened, and it helps you to lead a more meaningful life, a life of purpose, a life of passion, a life where you can serve others. And as a writer, words have also helped me with that, which is why, like you said, I wanted to go to the underprivileged sections of society, because since it was an experiential thing for me, I knew that when I read good books, when I meditated, when I was mindful, I knew what it did for my life, how it could help me, triumph over my difficult circumstances. And I wanted the same for these children. So yes, so that is, I believe the power of words is tremendous. Like, for example, this very session, if we had said the scary power of words, what would have leapt out of at us would have been scary, or you can say words that empower and uplift. You're saying the same thing using a different set of words, but just those one or two words can really, if it's a positive word, can spark a revolution in your soul. So that is what I believe.
Okay, that's very lovely, Deepa. Very nice. So happy you're doing this. I mean, I really think it's important actually to focus on the spirit, especially now. I mean, you hear such crazy stories among young people of serious depression because they have nourished their intellect so well. They have built their physicality so much. They care so much about how they look, but they've somehow neglected the spirit in the meanwhile. And of course, truly, books can and words can transform, for sure, and we do have a divine spark. So that I'm glad you're looking at that. It's very hope giving for all of us. And now we shall move to Meeta. Please unmute. Yeah, Meeta is, I've heard of her for so many years, especially in our community of writers and authors. She's quite a legend. In 2007, she started what was possibly India's very first literary agency. And her, I mean, I was talking to her and she said basically her quest has been always to find the invisible stories, the stories that haven't been told, and give them a platform. And she says she keeps reading and reading and reading manuscripts so that she will find them, so that they don't slip between the cracks and are lost, because she thinks of it as her responsibility. And sort of complementing that, Siyahi, the literary agency she founded, also curates a lot of festivals, literary festivals, including, I think for the longest time, the Mountain Echoes Festival, which is held in Bhutan. So, and through that also the effort is to bring voices that are not often heard onto the stage. So the same mission continues in the literary literary festivals as well. And she has won many awards, best literary consultant in India, and the Femina Superwoman Award for 2018, and the Karamveer Puraskar. So much celebrated, very well regarded, and much respected, especially. And this is the true test, right? The authors that she represents truly adore her, and they really believe that she's on their side, from my personal conversations with authors who she represents. So Meeta, tell us about what you do and how you see the power of words yourself.
Thank you so much. That was a rather generous introduction. And after listening to each one of the panelists, in fact, I'm the one who's wondering, what the hell am I doing here? Um, each one of you are such tall, larger than life personalities. And I think it's the way all of you have used the power of words to your advantage to find succor, to find inner calm, peace, whatever. For me, Syahi began on a very simple coincidence, literally. Like, I was already editing manuscripts, stories for my friends all across the country. And then I had lunch with a publisher from UK, and he said, what you're doing is what a literary agent does. I mean, you're helping writers. I said, oh, okay. All right, let's do something about that. And by that time, I had already started the first edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival. At that time, I was volunteering to do that. And the experience with publishers by then and with writers had been that there's a lot of good writing that's literally not being seen, just simply because, there's only so much that every publishing house can do. And there's a lot of writing that is in our languages. So, and are there enough translations? And it was like me and a friend of mine sitting, can you believe it, in a place that I will not even enter into right now. It was a Pizza Hut in Jaipur. And I was like, Naam batao. And he said, Syahi rakho. I said, done. The next day I registered my website and I had started.
Nice.
And within the first 2 weeks, I sold 2 books. I know I did a 3-book deal, in fact, for 2 of my authors. I've been with 2 authors, and one of them was a poet. And everybody told me in the industry, because everybody had come to know, like, we were all friends, and they said, Meeta, don't take on poetry, it doesn't sell. I said, no, this one will sell, because even I've still kept each of her emails, by the way. That's how beautiful her writing is. Not one of Kartika Nayar's emails.
That's technology for us. I think, yeah, Rupa?
She'll be back. She will
She'll be
back.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, Meeta is our last speaker anyway, right?
Yeah, but I have a question. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so when she comes back, we'll get into the questions. If I can ask you to, just give us a closing theme to, takeaways before we actually end the session, so we can because we still have 10 minutes or so, but just so we can use this time.
Yeah, and we came in late, so can we take 10 more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. You mean, so we have 15 minutes altogether. Would that suffice?
Yeah. 15 minutes was the original closing, but we started anyway, never mind. We'll see. I'll try not to make it spill over.
If you have a lot of burning stuff to cover, we'll keep it rolling, right? So, Rupa, please continue.
Yeah, sure. So while we wait for Meeta to come back, and I do want her to finish her story because it was very interesting. But I want to ask all of you very quickly, from your memory, some powerful phrase or quote or from a speech or a line from a book or a line from a film that transformed you, that was created that aha moment where you said, oh my God, and catalyzed you to action or encouraged you to take a step that you wouldn't have otherwise, or moved you very deeply. Lakshmi?
Yeah. So, when I was a child, I think more than a book that I read, it was something that my grandmother told me. So that sort of has had a profound impact on the way I look at life. So I remember as kids, we go to our ancestral hometown in Kerala, and she was the most loving grandmother. She used to completely give us a free run. There was nothing. She never said, do not do this. But I remember once we were traveling in the car, and she asked the driver to stop the car because she thought he may want to have a cup of tea. It was around 4:30 in the evening. And from where across Cowers Park was a pond which was lying unused. And then there were these lotuses in that pond, mucky, dirty pond. So she pointed out to the lotus and she told us, cousins, all of us who were in the car, she said, remember when you grew up, the earth might seem dirty like the pond, but always be like the lotus. So that's an imagery which stayed with me all my life. And later on in life, when, I was reading a book, and in that book, there was this line which has stayed with me all my life. He says, little do we realize that our ignorance is far more profound than our knowledge. So these are two things that I think have always stayed with me in my mind. Of course, the other thing that my grandmother used to say, words are like seeds. You throw them around, but remember, that's the plant which gives you the fruit, and you got to eat it at some point in life. So be careful,
mindful. Yeah. Meeta, thanks.
Yeah, my life
You went. Can't you just finish your story? You got cut off in the middle. So.
Oh, sorry guys about that.
No.
So basically, yes, the search is always on for something that is very refreshingly honest, something that is coming, you can make out whether they've done their research properly, whether they're convinced of their own writing. There are times when I open a manuscript and I read the first few lines and I know immediately, okay, this person is thinking in Hindi, but is trying to write in English. And I immediately write back to them. I said, you want to reach somewhere with your writing? I would genuinely suggest, can you please write in your own language? You'll make a much better storyteller. And normally I get hate mail when I say that. And so when there's hate mail in the office, we are all kind of grinning from year to year saying, okay, we've done our jobs right. That's just, we feel good about it. On the other hand, we are looking for, always something that is going to sell globally. But right now, especially with the pandemic and with my work with the JCB Prize also, more realizing that there are so many untold emotional health stories. There are so many stories that at this point in time, we need feel good. We need warmth. We need that kind of reassurance and reaffirming kind of storytelling happening, especially because we are living in a literally dystopian universe.
Right.
I have just come back from the hospital with my mother-in-law because she was in intense pain. So I took her to the orthopedic, and to just be in a hospital with two, not one, we were all wearing 2 masks and making her go through her tests and everything. It was as if we were on a movie set. It's just that feeling that, yes, the movie set, the filming will get over and the damn thing will finish. But you come back home and the first thing you do is you expect someone else to open your door, and you're just barging into your shower so that I could be in time for this panel. But when you're facing this kind of a universe outside you and you don't know when it's going to end, that's what we are looking for. So something's happening. Someone up there is looking after Siahi, because we have a book coming out on loss, on how there are essays on loss, after having lost a pet, after having lost a father, after having lost a mother, and how that author has strung such lyrical prose that you start reading and you are like, you get goosebumps and you're kind of saying, yes, this is what I also can do. I can feel the same kind of strength inside me. This is how I can deal with my loss, with my grief. It can be loss of anything. It doesn't have to be a human being. Then somebody just sent me a manuscript on loneliness, and a beautifully researched book on loneliness. And I said, oh my God, is this serendipitous or not? That's exactly what we need right now. And when I went through the manuscript, like I put everything aside and I read it straight out for 2 days. I said, and the third day, our contract had gone to her, which is a very rare happening at Siahi. My rejection rate is more than 97%. So I don't take on books that easily because numbers have never mattered to me. You know, that I don't want to brandish that I have so many authors in my stable. I care a fuck. For me, my content is something that I want to put out, is something that I believe in. And I am in that position of luxury to run Siahi like a passion and not a business. So, and this is my way of giving back, you know, putting out good kind of books and everything. So this loneliness book came, and then a very famous detective writer did a whole memoir, come travel, come whatever non-fiction narrative on food, traveling across India. And
And
I
you are so into food. You've written a
Oh my
book on food.
God, no, this is exactly because going forward, we don't know if when will we be able to even
Travel.
experience.
Yeah.
So nostalgia becomes such an important part of our lives now, you know, just for some sort of emotional, um, I won't say support because that will make us sound weak, but some sort of emotional
Nourishment.
nourishment, yes. So you know, and these are the kind of books that kind of landed up, and I said, wow. And you know, just when we are despairing, we don't know where the publishing industry is going. Retail has been hit really hard. Publishers are really watching what they're taking. But here I am rejoicing every day
Lovely, lovely.
that these kind of stories and narratives are coming our way.
Yeah.
You know? And there's some fantastic translations. I mean, we went back and even we represent two books. One, we just sold one on Mir Taki Mir and his poetry. So it's a very beautiful combination of something from the past that it
Past.
should be documented.
Yeah.
We have a very important. There are so many books on fairs, and the more that is said on fairs, I think is less. And we have this beautiful tome on fairs, which is still under process of getting, I mean, into a contract. But so it's not that I'm only moving forward. I'm also helping and archiving from our past, you know, our literary
Yeah.
traditions. So
Lovely.
it's
Keeping
just a
them alive as well.
beautiful moment when you get to work with such writers and such scholars, and it's very reaffirming. And believe me, since the lockdown, every single day, it is the power of words that keeps you going.
Thank you, Meeta. That's so true. Anuja, you want to take that question on a word, a phrase, or a line that inspired you and has stayed with you?
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, like, I was like a very a teenager with a lot of self-esteem, teenage girl thing of problems with body issues, self-esteem, blah, blah, blah. And it was actually my father-in-law that time. Of course, he wasn't my father-in-law, but he told me this once when I entered. You know, he and my mom-in-law and my dad-in-law had these amazingly glamorous parties in the big house in Lutyens, Delhi, and it would be full of rich and very influential and very intelligent people. I was really frightening going into that room. And I remember I was like 19 years old, I was in college, and I entered, and I was like standing at the entrance of the party, really hesitating. And he came up from behind me, such a sweet man, my father-in-law. And he put one arm around me and he like almost whispered, he said, Anuja, don't worry about what these people are. Don't worry about what these people are thinking of you. They're too worried thinking about what you think of them. You know, and it was like, it was so true. Like, you know, he seemed to, that's what they're thinking. And I can't, I mean, it's such a simple phrase. You could say it's pop psychology, literally, because it's coming from my pop-in-law. But I can't tell you, something shifted in my head at that point, and I was like, yeah, man, you know, like I can take this. And it was like a huge thing. And it's a magical thing, I think, to say to teenagers, especially because my kids also were so hit by this phrase later on, you know, when I trotted it out beautifully and said, your grandfather says, and it's so true. So that was like quite a maxim to me. And now I don't even get into the second half. I just like, don't worry about what people think of you and leave it at that. So, yeah, so I think for me that turned out to be like a big turning point motto. And of course, working in advertising, you have these amazing, like these, you know, these baselines, like you very kindly said nice things about Ye Dil Mange Mo. But for me, because I work in advertising slogans have always been a huge deal. Like they're the ones that you think are epic, iconic, amazing. They're ones that are that. So for me personally, like a line like "Just do it," like "Just do it" is incredible. It's so short. It's a Nike line, and "Just do it" is just makes nonsense of procrastination and no one would have had to write Hamlet if Hamlet had known "Just do it." Just think about it. It's the same thing for all these people. Look what's happening in the Congress party. If those guys did little more "Just do it," they would not be in this mess. So I think that's such an epic line and so short, because again,
So short.
advertising is so fast paced and every 10 seconds costs so much money and it just slams in and it says everything. So that for me is another slogan that I particularly love.
Thank you. That's lovely, Veevshan. It will strike home for us also now from now on. Deepa?
Okay, words. These are actually the words that I would like to share with you. They're quotes and they have literally transformed my life. And the first one is, there is this book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss, who is a Yale-educated psychiatrist, but he's written about past lives and things like that. It's an iconic book. And I was young when I read this, and he wrote that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And, that brings about such a shift in the way you perceive your own mortality, the way you perceive it. It literally makes your consciousness transcend to a different level. That was one. Another one is he was actually paraphrasing a mystic